So we're back on Incels.me, and this is going to be the second installment of involuntary celibates, as they have been blowing up the internet recently, and you guys know I have to be about that clickbait cash. And I wanted to speak about mainly because upon looking into this, that beautiful ad right there, I had found that the demographic of incels is not generally what I would originally assumed it to be. These men are not overweight, pessimistic, spiteful men. They actually seem to be moderately healthy individuals with their own lives, and some of them even seem to be well-minded and of good physical stature, which is a huge surprise to me. And I'll go ahead and show you what I was talking about in my first video on incels, that the demographic assumption that you would have for this type of men is nowhere near your original assumptions. And you can see that through some of their pictures, and I'll show you some of them here. You can even see some of them in the thumbnails that they choose. Some of them are their actual pictures, and some of these men seem moderately, some of them seem even more attractive than average people. I'll go ahead and show you this one. This is why I was saying in the other video previously that I think all incels might be mental cells. The idea that maybe it is their mental deficiencies, if they do have any, that keep them out of possible endeavors and romantic relationships with women. And you'll see from this picture, this kid here, definitely not the best of the batch, but he's not terribly ugly. In fact, he looks moderately normal. He does not seem to have terrible hairline recession, and he seems to have clean skin. He seems to be a normal-looking gentleman. And this is what I found as I was going through the incel forums, is that the demographic that you would assume these men to be, the men that assume themselves to be celibates for life, virgins, to never have the affection or affliction of a female, this is another one. This is his real picture. These men are not only not unattractive, some of these men seem more attractive than general men that I would see in normal society. And it's very interesting to me. This is why I started making videos on incels, is because I think what is keeping them from having romantic relationships is not their looks, it's not their physical contortionship or stature, it's these possibly even sociopathic tendencies that they have towards women. Even this man right here, look, this man looks like he could possibly be a model. In fact, that's what I found with a lot of these men on here. It's almost suspicious, in fact. I know that sounds like such a contrarian thing to say, but the men on these forums that think that they are so ugly, rating themselves never higher than a 4 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10, as they have these forum introductories as Rate Me, where they judge each other's appearance. These people think that man is a 4 out of 10, when in reality that man looks more attractive than most males that I see in my day-to-day activities. In fact, a lot of these men are in fact more attractive than most males. It's almost ridiculous. Here, I'll go ahead and show you another one. And this is when you're going to start questioning why these men are here. Because on this next page, they go from being moderately attractive to there's no way that some of these guys actually believe that they will be virgins for their entire life. Or rather, since making these videos, I've contemplated this for a long time, and I've come to the conclusion maybe they feel inclined to believe that for different ulterior reasons, and I think it is because of what I previously touched upon. These men have some sort of mental deficiency that disallows them from getting close to a woman, as well as probably disallows them from getting close to just generally anyone. This right here is another gentleman that we have. Sorry, I just need to check on that. This is the epitome of a mental cell. This man has a perfect hairline. Even his facial hair looks fine. The bone structure and contortionship of his face looks normal as well. And he even seems to wear fashionable clothing. It seems almost as though it is these men's mentalities that is keeping them from having consensual relationships with women. In fact, after going along these forums for a very long time, I'm starting to realize that is the only conclusion that I'm coming to. Some of these men seem bright. Some of these men seem like they have a good head on their shoulders, so to speak. They seem moderately reasonable. Even some of the men that seem to have sociopathic tendencies, and there are sentiments of irrationality in these forums for sure. Absolutely. They seem to have a hatred for women, believing that all women are you only view a man for the utilitarian benefit that can be brought to them through marriage, through sexual relationships. And while I feel that may have a small tinge of truth to it, they are definitely men that believe that to an irrational degree. But I would say the majority of these forums seems to be quite rational men, which is surprising to me, because if they are intelligent, and they are as well as attractive, and they are as well seem to be viewing society at least moderately correctly, the only conclusion that I can come to is that these men must have mental tendencies that is keeping them outside of having a relationship with a woman. I think almost to the extent of you could probably consider them mentally impaired, as from the survey that we did in the last episode, that seems to be one of the largest consensus, is that a lot of them do suffer from mental impairment. And I think that's what's going on, is because not only do some of these men seem to care about women and not have a hatred for them, some of the men who don't have a hatred for women actually seem to be moderately attractive as well. Look at this gentleman here. This gentleman is not only... guys, some of these men are more attractive than me. Probably more attractive than you, or more attractive than most of my listeners listening to this video right now. So it is very interesting that they amalgamize themselves around a forum of them being virgins for life, when a huge degree of them look almost like models. Which leads me to believe these men are mentally impaired. I think they have Asperger's. I think some of them exhibit sociopathic tendencies that lead them to being messed up like this and having such misogynistic ideologies, beliefs, and just things of that nature, because some of them are quite extreme, and I think that extremism is what leads to them not being able to form a consensual relationship with women. And that's why I said I think all incels are mental cells, because I myself am uglier than some of these men, and even I went through life just fine. I think it is these men's mental, and some of them are not even mentally impaired. You can tell just from the articulation and intelligibility that they're writing some of their comments. So when I say mentally impaired, I don't mean mentally impaired in the sense that they are mentally retarded, not using retarded in a disparaging way. I mean medically, like actually clinically diagnosed as being retarded. I think that some of them have created this sentiment within their own community that creates the community itself. These men thinking that women go after men for their sexuality, for their utilitarian benefit that they can bring to them, although I'll say in modern women that may be slightly true, I would go as far as to say is that is not completely objective. And it is the community itself that is leading these men to be virgins for life. Guys, if I were you and I was an incel, I would leave this community as fast as I could, because it is probably the community that is creating the community itself.